Hello everybody, welcome back to CJ's Card Corner. Today I want to talk about Pokemon investing, and I want to talk specifically about Pokemon investing do's and don'ts. These investing tips are my own, right? They're my things that I do and my things that I don't. It doesn't necessarily mean that those things are going to work for you, but these are the things that I do both on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to make sure that I understand the market, to make sure that I understand my own investments, my future investments, and where I have my money in the Pokemon world. Let's start right off the bat with a few of my do's. So the first thing that I do is I am trying every day to stay on top of the market. And I mean, this one's pretty obvious, right? If you're going to invest in Pokemon, you need to make sure you understand how the market works. You need to understand why boxes, in this case, sealed items go up or they go down. You need to understand restocks and inventory, and you need to understand all of those things as it pertains to what you're making a purchase on or what you have already made a purchase on. The ways that I do that, I go to TCG Player all the time to look at market data, to check on prices of boxes that I'm looking at for the future, to look at current sets that I am currently buying or ones that maybe I'm not buying. I like to make sure that I understand. So as an example, I am buying Ascended Heroes whenever I can, and I like to look at other sets that are like it, say like Twilight Masquerade. Or some of the other specialty sets. I look at those sets to match it up with Ascended Heroes and say, okay, well, this is when those sets started to take off or they started to get more popular. If I'm going to buy now, or if I'm going to buy later, and everything's different. It's never a perfect science. But the market data can give you a lot of information and provide you with some insight into what it looked like in the past, so you kind of know what it's going to look like in the future. With Ascended Heroes as an example, because it's a set that I've done a lot of research on, I've looked at a lot of the cards, I've looked at a lot of the trends, how quickly it sells out in stores, how often it's being flipped online, how much stock is out there or available at any given moment. And it looks like the price has kind of leveled off a little bit on the ETBs. The Pokemon Center ETBs are still really, really high, really, really expensive. When I'm looking at Ascended Heroes and I'm deciding whether to pull the trigger on purchasing it, I want to make sure that the market isn't going to correct in a really nasty way and I'm going to drop a bunch of money. That being said, I want to put in the caveat. I don't think that any Pokemon set is a bad buy ever. I just don't. I subscribe to the fact that Pokemon is constantly evolving, constantly growing, constantly drawing more and more people to the hobby, and people want every box that's ever been made. Base set is still popular, even for people that didn't grow up in the 90s like I did. Base set is still popular. Fossil, Jungle, people still enjoy ripping those products. They are not a bad buy ever. Just like any set. It doesn't matter. All of them are popular. All of them are expensive. All of them will continue to rise in price as scarcity becomes even more of a problem. Once a set is no longer printed, it continues to go up in value. So with that caveat being said, I'm just telling you kind of what I look for to try to get the best price on a box. But for the most part, when I'm looking at cards, when I'm looking at boxes, I always want to try to find the dip. The market research will help me do that by looking at past sets and determining if there's a correlation between, say, Celebrations, Crown Zenith, or any of those sets as like when they took off. Like when can I think, I missed the boat, right? Or if I'm buying now, I'm definitely not getting the best price, but I'm still able to get it at a price I'm happy with. The market trends will help you with that. And I think going to TCG Player is one of the best places you can go because they track that market in graphs. And you can create your own based on eBay if you want, but obviously that's a lot of work. And since TCG's already done the work for you, you should use that. All right, so let's move on to the second thing that I do. I look at older boxes. I look at older sets. Not necessarily just for market trending, but I also look at older sets and see what they're doing. Because a lot of times, and you've seen some of my other videos where I've talked about this, older sets do really well. Older sets are something you can buy into and get excited about, even at a higher price point in some cases. And sometimes those sets take a dip. I've talked about previous videos that I think Surging Sparks is still a good buy. I'll be honest, I think some of the not so great sets from the past eras are still a good buy. Battle Styles. It's still a fun rip. Like, yeah, the pull rates are kind of cruddy and the set isn't awesome, but it's still a good rip. Sword and Shield base is still a good buy. Scarlet and Violet base, still a good buy. And these sets aren't nearly as expensive as some of the newer stuff. Now, if you're just buying ETBs, you can get a lot of these ETBs at a really nice price. Maybe some of them at a similar price to Ascended Heroes or Prismatic Evolutions. I go through the market and say, okay, let's pull up a tab for all of the older sets on TCG. And if I'm looking to buy a booster box, I do that. If I'm looking to buy an ETB, I do that. And I just pull it all up and I say, okay, so here's what it looked like 6 months ago, 3 months ago. Is there a correlation? Is it going to continue to rise, or is it going to take a plateau? Is there a holiday coming up? Say, for example, this year's 30th anniversary. That's a huge deal. So I think that a lot of that you need to look at and say, is there something you can do differently with those older sets that allows you to catch a really great price before a set takes off? And I think one of the good examples of that is Brilliant Stars. That set I know is very expensive to buy booster boxes and ETBs, but I am telling you, it's about to explode. It's going to go up. I don't know if it's going to happen in the really short term, or if we're talking a year from now or 6 months from now. I don't know that for sure, but the data tells me that it's out of print and bam, it's going to blow up on the market and it's going to be popular again. People are going to be searching for those trainer galleries and they're going to want the Brilliant Stars in their collections, and it's a really good buy. So that is based on the data that I've researched and what I've looked up. And I recommend you do the same. Look up sets you're interested in. This is a good buy right now for me. And again, I don't think there's any bad buys, but like, is there one I can really, really dig deep into and say, yeah, in 6 months, I'm doubling my money. In a year, I'm doubling my money. And I thought that last year with Destined Rivals in about September, and I bought it, and now I'm up $1,000 per case. So you have to look at it and say, this investment, am I looking at it short term, medium term, or long term? I think that you can set yourself up for success if you just do some research on each set, and I do that on a regular basis. Sometimes every day, sometimes once a week. It just depends on if I have some capital to spend on investments. All right, so I have two more that I want to talk about of things that I do. So the first one, and I think this is really, really important, to maximize your investment portfolio. The most important thing that I do to do that, I pick and choose my sets. I know that in past videos, I've talked about diversifying, and I've talked about looking at other sets and looking at older vintage, all that jazz. But what I do consistently throughout that entire process, whether I'm diversifying, whether I'm buying a whole bunch of one set, whether I'm buying a newer set or an older set, it doesn't matter. The one thing I do most frequently is I search for critical or popular Pokemon within a set. So I rarely will buy into a set that doesn't have a top 10 Pokemon in it, or doesn't have multiple top 10 Pokemon in it. For me, it's really important that the set has a Charizard, a Dragonite, a Alakazam, a Bulbasaur / Venusaur, a Mewtwo. It has to have some larger card in the top 5 or 10 of that set that is going to draw people to that set 5 or 10 years from now. Because to me, that is just, and I know to a lot of other investors, it's super critical. And I think it's probably arguably one of the most important pieces of an investing portfolio is to not just diversify, but to make sure that you're choosing Pokemon that will be relevant 5 or 10 years from now if you're holding long term. We know that Charizard is going to continue to be popular years from now. That Phantasmal Flames or that Mega Evolution set, they're popular because they have high-end cards. That's why I think Surging Sparks is still a good buy, because that Pikachu is the hot card in that set. And I know that some people don't like it, but there are people that will chase that years from now. And I think that card will still be popular and expensive, and people are going to want to rip the sealed product to try to find one. So I always look for that. Lastly, and this one's not nearly as critical, but you have to be careful where you're buying your sealed product from. So for me, I try to shop where I know that things are safe and trusted. So like, you want to shop with some sort of reputable source. I don't recommend just buying from any average Joe Schmo on the street, because you just never know if that box has been resealed. And some people are really good at telling stuff like that, but I am not one of those people. I like to be extra careful where I shop. I'm going to shop with reputable sellers on eBay and TCG Player that I trust. People that have hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of feedback that I know that I'm buying from them, that I'm probably pretty safe. And I think that that's where, you can run into issues 5 or 10 years from now when you think you have a sealed case of something, and then you find out that the case has been resealed and there's packing peanuts in it, packed with weights, or, whatever. And we've seen that happen in the hobby like crazy. Now, I'm not one of those paranoid people that says everybody's out to get me, but everybody's out to make the dollar, right? That's why we're here. We are trying to make money. What I recommend is to make sure to shop with reputable dealers and people that you trust. Now, let's talk about the don'ts. Now, these are where I'm going to differ from a lot of the other investment videos and YouTubers. These are more tailored directly towards me and my personality and my level of anxiety with investing. I've told you in the past, I don't have a lot of money to throw at this hobby. Where I spend my Pokemon dollars is incredibly important. And that's why I mentioned before, I talk about trusted retailers, right? For me, the most important thing when it comes to the hobby is to make sure that I don't overextend myself. I'm not using credit cards to increase my investment portfolio. I'm using cash flow that I've had coming in since I started investing and since I started my resellers sports cards business. So in essence, I'm using my business and my investment portfolio to expand my portfolio. And I think that that is really, really important to understanding how to continue to move and increase. Is you need cash flow to be able to invest in all of the products that you want to invest in. With the don'ts, do not overextend yourself. Do not take all this money that you don't have, that's fake money, and put it into an investment. Because if you're truly investing, you want to hold that long term. So now you have to pay off that credit card because you're getting hammered with interest rates, and you don't want to necessarily have all these payments to make while you're just sitting on money. Now, if you're looking to flip that product and sell it for profit within a month of buying it, that's different. Because then, I'm not saying to do that because I don't believe in using credit cards for that kind of thing. But if you're looking to do that, you could make that money back plus some and pay off the credit card and then do it again, right? So then you're just cash flowing. Now, it's super risky and super dangerous. And again, I am not recommending that at all because I think that that's also a don't. It sets you up for failure because all it takes is one market decrease and now you can't sell that product. And that's what a lot of these flippers deal with when the market decreases. And it inevitably does. It goes in waves. My biggest don't is do not overextend yourself. Do not spend your money where you don't have that money. Pay off all your debts first and then invest your money in Pokemon. The second don't, this one's really, really, really tailored towards me. Don't look at your investments every single day. It's just going to send you into a spiral. So one of the worst things that people in this hobby do, and I've talked about this on many videos before, is use the collector app to track their investment portfolios, and then they're always freaking out when the market drops. And a lot of them are emotional sellers, so they sell their investments rather than holding them long term. You don't want to be doing this. The collector app is great as a general checker for like, oh, this is what my investment portfolio looks like, but it's not always up to date. And you want to be extra careful using that collector app to make emotional decisions about your investments. Just because it dropped in the collector app doesn't mean that that's what the current price is on TCG Player. There are so many things right now that are not priced properly within the collector app. Now, this is, again, no knock on the collector app. I really, really love it. I don't use it to make emotional decisions regarding my investments. I go in there to check and see, okay, well, the market is still steady on this and it hasn't changed all that much, and maybe we've hit a plateau for a while. And it's okay to do those things. But don't look at it and say, oh, I'm up 1,000 here and up 1,000 there. And don't do that, because it's only going to make you make emotional decisions, and it's going to make you think the market is in one place when in reality it may not be, because TCG and collector don't update at the exact same time. And I would say the same thing about TCG Player. It's okay to go into TCG Player and check out the prices of things. I do it all the time. I talked about that in the do's. But you have to be careful not to make emotional decisions about your money and your investments based on what the market is currently doing. You bought that product because you believe in that product, and you are not looking to move it right now unless you need the money or you don't believe in the investment anymore. And those are all things that are okay. But don't do it just because the market is moving, because the market is ever shifting. And by all means, if you need the money, get out. It's okay. Like, I'm all for investing that money into something else that you believe in, putting that money in a Roth IRA or a 401k, or putting it into something else you believe in, like sports cards, for example. Anything, right? There's so many options. Don't check the market value for all your products every day. It's only going to set you into a spiral and make you an emotional investor. Look at it every so often, or don't look at it at all unless you're looking to make a purchase. But don't look at your current investments unless you're looking to get out or you have a plan to sell those products at a certain time. I can't be emotionally checking my collector app every day. It just is not healthy for my own level of anxiety or my state of being. So these two are linked together. My third don't FOMO, and 4 is don't rip sealed product. All right, so these to me are tied together, but they are also different. So let's start with FOMO. FOMO, if you don't know, is fear of missing out. Again, talked about it in previous videos. Just because a set just got pumped or dumped doesn't mean you should buy in. And for me, it's a huge problem. Prismatic is a prime example. I am always FOMOing about Prismatic Evolutions. I don't care what anybody says, it's the best set out there right now, and I want it a ton. Ascended Heroes I am FOMOing about so hard because I want to go to the store and I want to go buy it. But you can't. You can't always FOMO about these products. Be careful. Don't buy just because they're inflated or they're dropped. Just be careful, check the market, do your research before you make a purchase or before you make a sale. But don't FOMO. And lastly, sealed product. Do not rip sealed product, guys. I have talked to so many parents that are at Target or Walmart shopping at retail stores. It's fine to rip some cards with your kids, but do not, and I'm going to repeat this loudly, do not rip sealed product as an investment. It is not an investment. Sealed product should be kept sealed, not ripped. Now, I understand there's a lot of issue with investors on this, right? A lot of the collectors hate the investors because none of us want to rip these products, and they want to rip these products and they want to get them at a fair price. Totally get it. Don't rip sealed product as an investor. If you're ripping because you enjoy the cards and you want to collect them, that's awesome. More power to you. I also love to collect cards. But you shouldn't rip them if you're planning to invest in them. So many people are like, oh, this is worth so much. I might pull the Charizard or the Pikachu or the high-end card. Don't buy into the hype. You want to be very, very careful with sealed product. You don't want to damage it. You don't want to rip it. You don't want to crack it. These are investments. They are not collections to buy in and rip and keep the cards. You're always going to lose. The house wins. That's how this works. That's why there is millions of sealed products out there, and we don't know what's in them because people are keeping them sealed, and that's the way you should be doing it as a sealed investor. Now, if you collect cards as an investment, that's different, and we're not talking about that today because for me, I'm a sealed investor, not a card investor. I went through my quick do's and don'ts. Obviously, it's not quick. This is a longer form video, but ultimately, what my thought process behind all this is to do what works best for me and don't do what works worst for me. So I love to rip packs. I love to open. So I have to be extra careful. I FOMO hard about every set I like. And so I have to be extra careful and do my research before I make a purchase. I would recommend finding the things that make you you, finding the things that make you go ick or things that make you happy, and be extra careful to work your investments around you and around your feelings, not about the market, not about how all these other YouTubers do it or that fancy YouTuber that has all the pretty boxes behind him. Don't FOMO over these people or these things. Buy or sell what works for you and don't do it emotionally. This is a business. If you're buying to collect, that's fine. But if you're buying to invest, it's a business. So look at it as a business venture and go through it in a business way. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Yeah, if you could leave a comment down below about what is your biggest do and your biggest don't, I'd love to hear from you. Also, please don't forget to like and subscribe and share. That's always really important to the channel to get me going. I again apologize for my voice because I'm still sick and I'm dealing with whatever this garbage is. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you have a great day.